Someone walked into his room while he slept. No struggle, no scream. The most powerful man in the world died in silence, on a night nobody recorded, in a palace that today lies buried under the sand. He was 19 years old, and to this day, nobody knows who gave the order. In this video, you'll meet the three men who had the motive, the access, and the power to kill Tutankhamun. We'll reconstruct his final days, the palace, the throne room, the night everything ended. And by the end, you'll understand why the answer was always there, buried with him. Tutankhamun was never supposed to be Pharaoh. He took the throne at 9 years old, in an Egypt on the verge of collapse. His father, the Pharaoh Akhenaten, had spent 17 years dismantling the country's religion. He abolished the ancient gods, closed the temples, ordered the name of Amun erased from every monument in Egypt. When Akhenaten died, he left a void, and into that void, they placed a child. Tutankhamun didn't choose the throne. The throne was placed on him by men who needed a symbol, not a king. Men who wanted the power without the name. Two of those men will appear before this video ends. For 10 years, Tutankhamun ruled, or tried to. He reopened the temples, restored the ancient gods, ordered the reconstruction of everything his father had destroyed. Politically, it was a complete reversal, and a necessary one. Egypt was fragmenting. The priests had lost power and money. The army was restless. Tutankhamun was the solution. But here's the problem. He was too young to rule alone. Every decision passed through two men. I, the royal advisor, whom some historians believe was Tutankhamun's own grandfather, and Horemheb, the army general, the man who controlled the only force capable of moving or removing a pharaoh. The problem started when Tutankhamun turned 18. Because an 18-year-old pharaoh is no longer a symbol, he's a man. And a man can have children, consolidate power, choose his own advisors, and dismiss the old ones. There is evidence that Tutankhamun had begun to act on his own. Records show he personally led military campaigns in Nubia and Syria, not as a figurehead, as a commander. For Horemheb, that meant one very specific thing. The pharaoh was learning to use the army without him, and for it meant something equally dangerous. An adult pharaoh doesn't need an advisor. He needs an heir. Tutankhamun had no living children. His wife had lost 2 babies, but he was young, and time was on his side. 3 names come up every time historians discuss the death of Tutankhamun. The first is I. I was the man closest to the throne without sitting on it. Royal advisor, likely a family member, with decades of accumulated influence. When Tutankhamun died, it was I who conducted the funeral. It was I who wore the jackal mask and performed the opening of the mouth ritual, the rite that, according to Egyptian belief, transferred the soul of the dead pharaoh to the next king. In other words, it was I who turned Tutankhamun's death into his own coronation. He became pharaoh days later, and he took the tomb that was supposed to be Tutankhamun's. The second suspect is Horemheb. If I wanted the throne, Horemheb wanted something different. He wanted to erase the entire past. After Tutankhamun's death, it was Horemheb who systematically destroyed the records of his reign. He ordered Tutankhamun's name removed from the monuments, did the same to I, tried to make himself, and not them, the legitimate successor to Amenhotep III. A man who erases names understands the value of a name, and he understands what happens when someone survives to protect their own. The third name is the most disturbing. Ankhesenamun, Tutankhamun's wife. daughter of Akhenaten, a woman who had lost 2 children, who knew her position depended entirely on her husband being alive, and who, after his death, did something no Egyptian queen had ever done before. She wrote to the king of the Hittites, Egypt's enemy, asking for one of his sons to marry her. The letter still exists. It says, "I do not want to marry any of my servants." She knew who had killed her husband, and she was desperate enough to ask the enemy for help. In 2005, a team of scientists did something Howard Carter never could. They placed Tutankhamun's mummy inside a CT scanner. The results changed everything. The scan revealed a fracture in the skull, a loose bone fragment inside the cranial cavity, the kind of injury that doesn't happen in an accidental fall. It happens from a blow, and it happens when the body is already still. But there's more. The scan also revealed that Tutankhamun had a broken leg shortly before he died, a severe fracture with signs of infection. Some scientists argued that's what killed him, an accident, a fall from a horse, an infection that spread too fast. Maybe. Or maybe someone waited. A king with a broken leg cannot walk, cannot inspect the army, cannot escape. It's exactly the moment when a powerful man becomes completely vulnerable, and the people around him know it. So who killed Tutankhamun? The honest answer is, we don't know. No confession survived. No order was recorded. The only document that could point to a culprit, Ankhesenamun's letter, was written by a woman who vanished from history shortly after. She was never heard from again. But the facts point in one direction. I had the most immediate motive, the throne. He had the access. He was inside the palace, beside the Pharaoh, every single day, and he was the first to benefit. He conducted the funeral. He took the tomb. He placed the crown on his own head. Horemheb waited, and then erased everything. That is not the behavior of an innocent man. It is the behavior of a man who knew exactly what had happened and wanted to make sure no one ever found out. Tutankhamun was buried in a hurry, in a small tomb, surrounded by objects borrowed from other pharaohs. No heart, no air, no witnesses. He was buried to be forgotten, and for 3,000 years, it almost worked.